Welcome back to the Summer of Protocols guest talk series. This series is part of an 18-week program where a cohort of 34 researchers are exploring the various aspects of protocols. You can find out more at summerofprotocols.com. Today, we're talking with Kyle Mathews. Our next session is tomorrow with J.D. Nolan, and his talk will be on healthcare protocols. The pre-meeting reading material is there in the program calendar. And so with that, I will hand it off to Venkat to go ahead and introduce Kyle for us.
Hey, Kyle.
Hello.
All right. So today we have a guest session with Kyle. Kyle and I have known each other for over a decade at this point, I believe. He's been a reader of my blog for as long as I've been writing it, I think. And I remember when we first met at Ribbon Farm meetup, he was working on Drupal, and Drupal was back then an ancient dinosaur content management system, and lots of companies were building big websites on top of it. It's kind of like the big brother of WordPress. And then this whole revolution of what you might call, I guess, Web 2.2 happened, which is graph databases, React, a lot of like weird streaming-based high-speed websites, created this whole ecosystem of static websites. And Kyle was one of the people who helped spark that revolution with Gatsby. And Gatsby, along with others like Jekyll, Hugo, there's like a dozen of them now, kind of like took the old web content paradigm of WordPress and Drupal and created something weirder that I don't know quite how to describe, but they called it static, but it wasn't really static. It had, like I said, graph databases and React and a bunch of other technologies, which I think kind of represent an evolutionary partway point between a platform-centric way of like doing content and a slightly more protocol-centric one. I remember when Kyle first described it to me, I didn't understand it at all, where he said something like Gatsby could use a bunch of different sources as or other things as sources for data. It could use WordPress in a headless way. It could use things like Contentful for like pulling content in random ways and assembling them on the fly. So the reason I'm giving you all this context is I think with or without Web3 and crypto type solutions, the web has already been on a sort of evolution from platform to more protocolish architectural patterns for about a decade now. And anything you in 2000 to 2010, you could imagine as like a social media platform with a big company owning data and provisioning sort of services around that data, you can now kind of rethink in a series of increasingly subtle alternate ways. And I think today's session, Kyle is going to like combine some of his history with web technology with his I guess slightly more newfound interest of like social pattern organizing to rethink, I think, like classic problem of, I guess we used to call it social bookmarking back in the day, like back in the dig era. But yeah, that's the background. I'm really looking forward to it because as long as I've been using the web, bookmarking has been a horrible thing that has never really quite worked for anybody, I think. So Kyle, over to you.
Today we're gonna fix it. Maybe we'll see. Thanks Venkat for the warm intro. Excited to be here. I know a few of you personally, like Venkat. Other of you have been reading for a while, and the rest of you I've been reading as of recently through the Summer Protocol. So I've been really enjoying all the discussions and the writing that y'all are starting to put out. I think it's just a very fertile area to think about right now. So I will share my screen. I have a few slides, etc. So today is mostly not a talk. It's mostly a workshop. We're going to be, the goal is to try designing a protocol around sort of bookmarking, not sort of like the large, bookmarking in the large, but like specifically for, the summer protocol for you all. How can you share links, references, etc. in Discord, and make it more useful, interesting, better, somehow or another. And so the rough agenda is I have a few intro thoughts, and then we're going to be splitting out into groups for like 10ish minutes, and then come back together as a whole, and each group will kind of share what they came up with, and then we'll split it out again. I'm not entirely sure we'll have time to actually go to two different things. We might, just do a design session and then, cross fertilize a bit and then go back and sort of redo it. So anyways, we'll see how it goes. How to make managing references in Discord useful. And then the idea then is also then that whatever we design, I will then, build, and we can actually see it, play out in reality and see how it goes. Okay. So just, little idiosyncratic thoughts about protocols. I kind of see them as like their infrastructure for kind of organizing, structuring, building within, time, space, all sorts of relationships. They're kind of like virtual fences, bridges, plazas, fences to draw boundaries, bridges to get over difficult areas, to like connect things that otherwise couldn't, go together. Plazas are kind of like gathering places, where you kind of go to do something together with other people, etc. And these are both like, I say virtual in that, in sort of the software virtually sense, but even, even sort of not thinking about software, pre-software protocols, still kind of created these sort of in our mind spaces. It's like the idea of going to church on Sunday when you saw everyone in the community. That was sort of a virtual idea that then sort of was reified by people actually doing it. Anyways, okay, so so time-space relationships, protocols make them more valuable. They enable sort of a stable order for us to exist in, which is both good by itself, but also like new things can then be, you can have layered protocols. So it's like once you have a stable layer, you can build stuff on top, which is good. In software, of course, is a great mechanism for enforcing protocol behaviors. Alternatives in the past and in the present, swords, guns, paperwork, grandmas. Okay, so some challenges of building software specifically for soft protocols. So hard protocols are where you have sort of rigidly defined behavior, and software is great for rigidly defined stuff. And the advantage of that is it's sort of like you control everything. You as the designer can say, okay, this is how it's going to work. You can test it, rewind, replay, debug, etc., until things work as you expect. And a lot of like software protocols are actually just about machine-to-machine communication. And so again, it's sort of like it gives you sort of this like rigidity of stuff, which is convenient in a lot of ways. And so also many SaaS tools are hard protocols. So just a random example, my last company, we used Greenhouse for handling the hiring process. And it kind of tells you exactly what you do the whole time. What to say, when to say, who's going to talk to who, whatever. You kind of set it up a bit, but there's obviously they've done a lot of research and a lot of testing and a lot of like kind of iteration on their application protocol. And what's great is you just kind of do what it tells you to do, and it takes care of a lot of issues around hiring. So soft protocols are softer. They're more akin to governing the design. You don't really have that much control. You're more influencing, suggesting, etc. And this leads to a lot of interesting, stuff that happens like Twitter, Facebook. Like sort of like Twitter. Anyways, both of those are seeing numerous examples of sort of the community, the users doing things that were not really intended or even necessarily liking, or sometimes like everyone liked it and then like Twitter would like added the added the quote tweet, and I don't know. There's lots of examples of sort of this interplay between the state and the populace. Also, what's interesting about soft protocols is that protocols running in wetware, so like in our brains. And so, again, like you can sort of try to design what's happening, but it's stuff's always happening. You're always having to respond to it and keep nudging things along. Okay. Yes. So, okay. So back to the agenda real quick. So, we're going to break out into small groups. I don't know exactly how many people are here, but I was thinking like 4 or 5 per group sounded good. And the goal of the first breakout session is, for this problem opportunity of sharing links with each other. Each group will create like a Google Doc, and then the idea is to like sort of come up with like sort of loose, like what is like sort of ideal outcomes, like what is kind of a vision of how things could work around this that's really compelling and interesting and better than what we have now. And then come up with, these are sort of the goals of the protocol, and then also come up with them with like user stories, like what exactly can users do, etc. And then also it's like it's both like as a user, they can do X, but also like this would all be run by a bot. So a bot can also like watch what's going on and then suggest stuff to the user. So it's like, it can like DM the user and say, hey, I noticed you did X, like you shared a link. Do you want to do some response to that, whatever? Okay, and so also a bit on, you never heard the term user story? I asked ChatGPT to write some user stories, and they have kind of like a general form. It's sort of like, as a role, a person, I want to do Y so I can, Z. So it's sort of like, I asked it to write 5 user stories for reference sharing protocol, managed by a Discord bot. So like as a that's not very good. So as a researcher, I want to easily access all shared references in one place so I can quickly find the resources I need. That may or may not be a great user story. You and your group can figure it out, but that's the kind of the format that we'll be writing these user stories in. Okay, so questions before we break out.
So just to clarify, the first exercise right now is user stories.
Yes, user stories plus, well, first is like, what is what do we want the protocol to accomplish? So like, we're going to be running this protocol. What's sort of a compelling description of how things will be different from there now? So like protocols, shape things. So what are we shaping our interactions in Discord towards? And then the user stories are like, how do we accomplish that through the bot?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like a bit of a product design exercise. Sounds
yeah,
good.
exactly.
All right, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, we're doing product design. Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool.
I'm saying protocol, blah, blah, basically just normal product. This is normal product design with some protocoliness, mumbo jumbo thrown in.
Cool.
Okay. So Josh, I suppose you do the magic of splitting this up.
Yep, here we go.
Okay. Welcome back. So what we're gonna do now is have each group take turns and kind of like summarize your discussion for each other. And I created a Google Doc just to sort of like summarize the summaries, write up the summaries. Okay, so who wants to go first?
I'll go first. In our group, we had Sarah, Dorian, Timber, David Lang, and Steve, and myself. And so we talked about the fact that there's like quite clear standards already in terms of annotations online, and we probably shouldn't necessarily like reinvent like how information is essentially like annotated. And then we talked about in terms of the objectives of what we want to get in with regards to this, which is really being able to decrease the amount of time it takes to sift through content, especially that isn't related to the work that we're doing. So the themes that came out of this, we're kind of thinking about what does it look like to have the synoptic view, or the 100-foot view maybe off of the Discord, maybe not the 10,000-foot view, but maybe the 100-foot view. And I added in the chat some of the themes in terms of prioritization of oh yeah, sorry, wrong thread.
Oh, there's another chat?
Yeah, let me just put it here. Oh,
okay.
Here we go. I added it in the chat.
Cool.
So the prioritization, so custom to each project, summaries of content, for example, like if you have, so prioritization as in if there's been, I don't know, 30 web links in the past day, like maybe show you like the 5 that are relevant to your project. We talked about summaries of content. So instead of having to like go into the full link, be able to say, tell me what this article was about, and summaries of threads. So thinking about if there was a thread with a lot of activity, like being able to like understand it at a bird's eye view. And then we also talked about visibility of activity. So links that had high amount of discussions or reactions, as well as relationships between content. So like if an article is mentioned in response to another article, or an article actually hyperlinks to another article, then being able to see some of that. Yeah, so I think it was Steve, Dorian, Raphael. Oh yeah, Sarah, of course, yeah. And David Lang and Steve. Yeah. Okay, so I'll pause there. The main thing again, just being able to decrease the amount of time that you're like in Discord and making decisions around what to read.
Excellent. Okay, next group.
Okay, so we were group 2. Let me see if I can find our discussion. Okay, so in our talk, we had me, Mishal, Tim, and Rithika. And again, we had some similar concerns. We started off talking about the concerns that we have with Discord. What were things that would make our lives easier? What were the problems? So it's hard to find things for us. And we're looking for a way not just to save things, but also to categorize the saves. We talked about the daily digest idea from Venkatesh. We also distinguish between the types of users that may be on Discord and their differing needs. So me being a new to Discord person and really just engaging with this SOP one versus someone who is in a million Discords and is having trouble like managing all of that. The idea similar to group 1's of how it would be helpful to be able to see what is getting attention within Discord, what is stimulating discussion, and thinking about maybe some ideas from other sorts of social media or discussion forums, maybe auto tagging for every comment to make things easily searchable. And then we tried to come up with some user stories. Did someone post those? User
I
stories.
just did in the chat.
Okay, thank you. Great. Okay. So yeah, so various, there we go. Various user stories from Discord users, right? As an SOP researcher that's new to Discord, I want to find a way to find and keep links by category to locate research sources later. As a heavy Discord user, I want to be able to save and categorize what I'm saving so it's easier to find links and info. As a Discord user in multiple communities, I want an automated way to get links to the post conversations, getting more engagement, so it's easier to stay updated with what's happening. As a heavy internet user and reader, I want a way to bookmark articles and links that are then sent back to me as random daily digests throughout the week to make sure I interact with my growing collection of saves.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. How many groups are there?
4 groups.
Okay, 4. Okay. So did about 3-ish minutes each. Should be fine. Okay. Okay. Next group.
Group 3 was me, Drew, Toby, Eric, and Kyle. We started by kind of going through different Discord dynamics that are frustrating to us right now, and then went into the user stories. We were pretty similar to groups 1 and 2. We were noting that there are things that are posted in duplicate in different channels. The number of channels proliferates too quickly and becomes duplicative or forks off into temporary conversations. We've tried to solve this with threads, but it's often not clear ahead of time, like when something should be a thread. And also you can't retroactively make conversations threads, which is something we've all, I think, been facing a little bit. So for this, we said, as a core researcher, I want the ability to move conversations to the appropriate channel or to retroactively turn a conversation into a thread. We also discussed if there's sufficiently shared sets of norms across Discord for us to understand, and we briefly talked about maybe wanting a channel to try to develop new norms across our own Discord use. And then talked about some ideas of having a bot to assist with using Robert's rules or things like that, or have a way to measure spam-proof levels of engagement in a community. But then the rest of the user stories we developed were, as a core researcher, I want a Google Alert style notification system for specific keywords so that I can follow topics I'm interested in without being overwhelmed. And as an affiliate researcher, I strongly co-sign it being overwhelming. As a core researcher, I want to know when a back and forth discussion is happening versus when a link is getting popular. And then as a core researcher, I want to be able to collaboratively tag posts similar to the popular post channel with stars to show that they are links or papers and have them appear in a reading style channel so that they're easily accessible without clicking through a lot of different threads.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
Could you copy,
okay.
Kara, could you copy paste the last one into the Discord chat? I'm like curious. I couldn't follow because it was too long.
Sure. Yeah, it's all in the Google Doc. I think it's already in Discord, but I'll paste it.
Nice.
Okay, group 4.
Okay, this group was me, Nahi, Kaya, Josh, and Venkat. So we started by each exchanging perspectives on phenomena we'd observed on the Discord, including a need to categorize links associated with their relevant research projects, and to, in particular, prioritize links that have been surfaced. Then there was sort of a back and forth discussion about whether saved links are actually viewed, or if the social component is more relevant and even maybe sort of an indirect mechanism for saving a link by sharing it to someone with someone. So then there was the idea that the links could be could include information when you look at a link, sort of information pointing forward to surrounding discussions around the link, and maybe also the idea of having a URL shortener of some kind that would embed information about the Discord conversation with the URL. And then we also had a discussion about whether tags or categories were more relevant systems for organizing information. So whether people actually use tags or not. And then also the idea that the bot could recognize recurring keywords that appear in community discussions as people talk about different themes, like such as swarms, for example, around their projects, and help identify links that way. And then, so as a final description of the project, was written up saying we would like a bot that can surface links posted in the Discord database that can categorize links based on recurring keywords, including persons. This bot should be able to export these links to an external source like Notion.
Excellent. Okay, so yeah, Kara's like, I'm surprised how many projects as well as collect more links and sort them into categories. Yeah, so I think now what we should do is we've all seen, each other's thoughts, is go back to those groups and then zero in on a single use case, like whatever use case you think is most important, and then try to go deeper on that. So kind of flesh out exactly how the bot would work, etc. Does that make sense?
Yep. How long do you want for this session?
We got 21 minutes left, so 10 minutes again, and then yeah, we'll see what people come up with in the last 10 minutes. Okay, so yeah, let's go through the same groups, same order again. So someone from group 1 want to share what you all came up with?
Yeah. Okay, we'll go. Sounds good. So I'm gonna paste this into the Discord chat, or can I paste it directly into yours, into summarization? Can I do that?
Yeah, that sounds great. Then I can just copy and paste it into the doc.
Okay. So we were thinking about just focusing on prioritizing links as the standard use case. We were thinking about having either a private channel or DM for each person, just you and the bot, and maybe a public one overall. And then once a day, or not really once a day, but you could, for example, any day, you could collect all the URL links from the last day with the metadata of the text, like title and description, an overall popularity score, and link to the channel message. Maybe split into 2 buckets, like one which is for you and one which is like all the other links. Essentially being able to identify like this is probably interesting to you. So the objectives kind of met here is you don't have to crawl through channels and you get some personal recommendations. In practice, the bot would kind of look like three actions. One, which is a focus. So you'd input like the topic that you're interested in. That would be an optional one. So technically this would be an option because you could also say all. Then you have a range. So say day, week, month, probably not optional because or else it'll be until the end of history. And then you hit collect, and it brings you out the URL links nicely formatted. It's possible, David was looking through the list of bots from Discord today, and it's possible that there's like this Clyde bot from OpenAI that might be able to do this action for us.
Wow. That'd be cool. It's already done, maybe. Awesome.
Maybe.
Okay. Maybe, yeah. I mean, it does seem like someone else might have worked on this too. So, okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, group 2.
Oh, sorry. One last note. One thing that I didn't mention here, but just in general, is that what we didn't do was to actually activate the bot at any point. So the bot actually only works on pull requests. It's not like you don't submit a link at any point. You only pull links. So like you're not activating the bot unless you want the information.
No.
Okay. Okay, so group 2, let's see. Did anybody pull ours into Discord yet? Does anyone want to present other than me? Happy to share.
I posted the link, but I'm okay with you.
Oh, great, thank you. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, so sorry, I have too many windows open. Okay, so basically our bot focused on bookmarking. We want our bot to help us with bookmarking and kind of also categorizing the links that we choose. So we envision kind of a process where, you know, the user, if you're in Discord and you see a link that you want to bookmark, you do take some action, and depending on what action you take, like you can just click bookmark, or you can right click on the whatever bookmark thing, and you'll get kicked into a chat bot. And you're prompted by the chat bot to save this link into a category that you have already maybe set up, or you can choose to add a new category. And then the bookmark is going to be saved for you and possibly auto tagged with the category. And what happens when it's saved is that it will go to a channel on Discord that you have of your saved links by category, and also into a separate like Google Doc or something like that, so that you have them to work with on your own as well. And as far as the Discord channel, I guess the Google Doc as well, you would decide whether you want to share these publicly or they're just private to you. And then this bot would also automatically send links of the saved bookmarks throughout the week to the user. I think that's all we got.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so group 3.
We went a little bit in a different direction on this one. We started talking about some ideas for trying to tag things more collaboratively, trying to categorize links, trying to surface things. But ultimately, where our conversation got is to a debate of whether or not that is useful for doing more productive intellectual work together. And Toby raised a concern or a thought that like maybe more of this type of conversation or categorization isn't what will help us do the projects we've set out to do, but talking to each other more directly could. And so some suggestions that he made were potentially having a bot that asks you to reflect at specific times during the week on work you've been doing or on specific areas that are being discussed in Discord, or having a bot, and this one may already exist because it sounds like it exists in Slack, that allows you to set up one-on-ones more easily with each other, or to schedule meetings with people who you haven't talked to before.
Excellent. Okay, and now group 4.
So with our discussions, I'm pulling up the document. So we talked about the idea of instead of having a centralized database for links, they could be more like forwarded links in an inbox or a user feed to facilitate the flow of links going in and out, particularly for researchers following other people's conversations or affiliate researchers who might have different levels of involvement, but might still want to keep up with specific topics. And then the idea of being able to forward content between different Discord channels was also an idea. And then being able to pick and choose which types of content to follow in a feed.
Okay. Okay, so we're past time. I don't know, is there strict end on time sort of thing, or can we go a few more minutes? People need to jump, of course you can jump. Hearing no strong complaint. Okay, anyways, I thought it'd be a good time or good. Anyways, just people to kind of general reflections, like what you learned or saw during this session. Both about like the exercise at a meta level, but also specifically about, you know, different bot ideas, etc.
I'll add one. Actually making stuff useful takes some sort of work. Like these bots are here. I was talking about this a little bit in our group, that the Discord allows people to get out ideas with kind of spontaneity and like a natural flow. But actually making what comes out spontaneously useful then needs some work at some point, right? And so all the categorizing stuff and organizing it and saving it for later. Either you need to be able to take apart the text that was spontaneously generated and clean it up, and or maybe use this bot idea to do it. But there's some labor in here that doesn't happen through the just general discussion.
Thanks. David.
It's interesting to me that you know, this is the kind of go-to way to think about creating a protocol. Like, this is a pretty standard like problem-solving methodology of like, what do I want to do, like going through user stories. But having like worked on technology standards and seen and studied them, I'm always impressed, not by the maker of them, but by the first adopters. And there's like this Derek Sivers thing about the early adopters being the like a different form of leadership. And it strikes me that in protocol making, that I wonder if there's a different way to think about this kind of process, because it seems to me like this will get you going in the XKCD model of, oh, now we have 15 competing standards, versus thinking of, okay, what's out there and how do we adapt it to our needs, or make it better or bigger or whatever. I just wonder if there's a different way of approaching problems that's better for protocol developing, that centers around the early adoption rather than the kind of creating from scratch methodology. It's just an observation.
Excellent. Thanks, David. So Kara, or how are you saying Kara?
No, you got it right. It's Kara.
Okay, Kara.
I feel like it really surfaced, and I've seen some conversation that I haven't read all of in Discord about this, but I feel like it surfaced that a lot of us really would value having more categorizations of links or more systems where links can be tagged. But I think that the people who have said this are totally right, that they probably wouldn't be utilized to the degree that we're ambitiously envisioning when we talk about how useful they would be. I think it's true probably that it's like a minority cognitive style to do that, to want to do that type of work. But I wonder, like, A, what part of it can be automated, but B, if it's worth it, since so many of us think that that's useful to have people who focus on it versus asking people who are focused on other things to also do that. It seems like a system that doesn't necessarily have to be like one that everybody uses, but that would be useful to most people.
Yeah, excellent reflections, questions.
I was going to say that there's an inherent assumption here that we're working within the box of Discord. That's interesting because we're already like constrained by the type of like solution that we're going to build because we're already in the mindset of Discord. And related to David's point, it almost feels like the user stories and solutions that we were looking at are actually a reinforcement of the protocol that we use for work. I'm not sure what that is, but it feels like we're reinforcing a specific work process, maybe trying to be more efficient at the current work process, but not necessarily. I don't know if for protocol design in general, there's a way to step out of it. I feel like it's hard to step out of the protocol because it's like the water that you're swimming in, and therefore you end up designing products that assume that you're in that water.
Excellent. Cool. Now we have Michelle.
Yeah. I was thinking
Thanks.
about two things. One was, and this is just a side note, but I loved the reflections of it because that's not a direction my mind went into. But the more I think about it, I think it would be super useful just in different contexts as well, right? And the other one being like, we're all thinking about saving and organizing bookmarks, but and that's also where my mind was going about how useful it would be. But I'm also thinking about all the other platforms that I do bookmark on, but like with Twitter, I don't remember, like I love bookmarking threads, but how many times do I go back to the older ones, right? So the mechanism that can remind us maybe might be more useful, or maybe we like thinking that we love the organization bit, but the utility side of it and how much we're going to use it, I think that's something to maybe think about. And if we're overcomplicating it.
Awesome, thanks. Cool. That looks like the last hand raised. Yeah, so thanks to everyone for coming and participating. I thought that was super interesting. Yeah, I have to think about, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff here. I mean, an hour is not really enough time to figure out anything. But yeah, I'll reflect on this some more, see if there's something concrete, specific we can get out of this. David, you thought about like, is this the right way to design a protocol? I do agree that like worse is better, do like something that's like kind of crappy and like sort of points in the general direction and then seeing what happens. And what early adopters do with it is a good idea. But yeah, guess we'll stop.
Thank you so much. Dropping off.
Yes, thanks so much, Kyle, for your time today. Appreciate your workshop and looking forward to seeing what comes out of it.